talking about? Coach Pop is the greatest human being I have ever seen. The way he looks, the way he talks, the way he wins basketball games, the way he smells, the way he looks, he oozes both success and sexiness. Coach Pop is love. Coach Pop is life. No one else is nearly as good as him at anything. And I love him. I love Pop. And I know I speak for all of you too. So what we need to do is we take our little candles to the Virgin of Guadalupe and we burn them for Pop. Burn them for Pop. And a little bit for Timmy, but a lot for Pop. Because 1336, baby. He's the GOAT. What else can you say? Pop. Coach Pop. Anyway, Spurs weekly update. I said last week Spurs have to win at least one game, but probably two, to stay alive in the playoff race or the play-in race. And they did it. The first one was the Lakers, which we expected because no AD and then no LeBron. It's like, what are you going to do? You going to beat us? I don't think so. They didn't. I did a video on that game. Really good game. And then lost to the Raptors and then beat the Utah to get the record for Pop. And that was a crazy game. Not a game I expected the Spurs to win. They beat Utah twice this year. Once on the road and once for the record. Isn't that crazy? Utah's a damn good team. I mean, they haven't been as crisp as you would have expected. They kicked the Spurs' ass last year and the year before several times. Like ass beatings. But the Spurs have beat them twice this year. And you know there's a little extra pep in the step on that last one. But they did it. So, yeah, they got the record versus a really good team. And I'm sure y'all have all seen the aftermath by now. But what an amazing thing to see Pop get embraced by his current generation of players that got him the record. I mean, the big three got him the record. But, you know, he had to win some more games and he had to have the longevity and he had to keep doing it to get it. And this young roster were the ones that were able to do it. And, you know, they weren't crazy good, but they could have sucked and won like 10 games. I mean, what was it, the Bobcats before they were the Hornets a few years ago, won like 14 games one season. I mean, they didn't do that. They got him the record. Was he going to go record chasing in Brooklyn if this team sucked? Remember that? He was rumored to go to Brooklyn. But yeah, and then the Spurs lost to the Pacers on Sunday. I don't know. Should you have played DeJounte that game? I mean, I guess you don't risk it, right? He played 38 minutes the night before. Let's pull up some box score stuff and look at what happened there. Last week, like I said, started the week with a nice win versus the crippled Lakers. The Lakers who have been crippled ever since AD decided to take it. Just be mean. Since AD got hurt again. Lost to the Raptors in the second game of the week. I was at that game. They're a really, really weird team. They go huge. They play like 4 power forwards at a time and Fred VanVleet. And when Fred VanVleet is not playing, they play like 5 power forwards and Pascal Siakam's the point guard. Or they just give the ball to Scotty Barnes. It's a really crazy lineup. It's really hard for a small team like the Spurs to match up against. They just went big. And the Spurs were missing Keita Bates-Diop that game, that's one of the rare matchups where I think he's crucial for this current iteration of the Spurs. That was a rough game. I mean, there was just no chance. They were just getting rebound after rebound, and I mean, they're just way too big. Spurs need a real 4. That's not Keita. No offense, I love Keita, but that's not Keita. Like I said, big win versus the Jazz, and then the loss versus the Pacers in a game where DeJounte, Jakob, and Pirtle didn't play. You wonder if they maybe should have left one of those 3 in to give the Spurs a chance because that's a game they could have won. They're not that good, but hey, they tried it. Jacques Landale had a career game and then said he wants to spend the rest of his life in San Antonio, or the rest of his career in San Antonio, which they're probably going to trade him now, but whatever. This week, Spurs start today, when I'm recording this, Monday, against the Timberwolves, who have been really good this year, surprisingly. Well, not surprisingly, but kind of surprisingly, given the history of their franchise the last 10 years or so. I don't really expect them to ever turn the corner, but hey, they might be doing it now with their new big three of Ant-Man, Cat, and D'Angelo Russell. I mean, they're winning some games. They got Pat Beverly out there, probably the best perimeter defender in the league. Did I just say that? He might be. Then the Spurs have a must-win on Wednesday versus Toronto. And then maybe the game of the week for sure. Maybe the game of the rest of the season at home versus New Orleans, who the Spurs are directly competing against for that last seed in the play-in game. New Orleans dropped 2 games and then they won 1. So they're not. They had a chance to distance themselves with the Spurs lost 4 or 5 in a row, whatever it was, and they kind of lost a couple games. They're missing Brandon Ingram. CJ's been out with COVID, but I think he'll be back by then. I think he's questionable for their next game, which is on Tuesday. So they'll have CJ back, but they probably won't have Brandon Ingram back. So the Spurs, it's like a game the Spurs have to win. I mean, if they're serious about making this playing game, which the players are, I don't know about, management and pop in the front office and all that. They may be looking at the draft, but as far as a chance to really do something in the standings, beating the Lakers last week was huge. Winning another game last week, going 2-2 last week, and then beating the Pelicans at home when they're missing one of their best players in Ingram. That's like the golden opportunity right there. And then you have that, like I said, winnable game versus the Thunder on Wednesday. Those are 2 games the Spurs, the Lakers are losing so many. So how can I say must win when there's an even worse team out there? But those are 2 must-win games if the Spurs are serious about making this thing, because they're at home. The Thunder are not only rebuilding, they're super, super banged up. They have a lot of players in and out. Lou Dort, who hit a game winner versus the Spurs, I think, last year or 2 years ago, is out for season. They're already rebuilding. Josh Giddey's out for the year. Their backup guard, who's playing for both of those guys, Anthony Wiggins, I'm blanking on his first name, but Wiggins, who's been pretty good lately, is not playing. Another good game for the Spurs to win. And then Sunday, the fun one. This one the Spurs could win because they've done it already this year, versus the healthy Golden State Warriors. And when I say healthy, I don't just mean Clay. And I don't just mean Draymond, who's coming back today, Monday. But Wiseman is going to be back too, who hasn't played in when was he drafted? I think he was. He hasn't played since he has never played before. But anyway, that'll be a fun one. I mean, that's just a fun week of basketball. It starts today. Y'all are probably already watching the game or have already watched it. It's another one of those toss-ups where I can't count the Spurs out. You can't count the Spurs out of any game. But if I'm a betting man, you're considering the Spurs in this one. Because, yes, they're good, but the Spurs have perimeter defenders that can match up with Ant and Russell. It's just Cat pulling Jakob out of the paint that's going to be the issue, in my opinion. Because the self-proclaimed best big man shooter of all time, he's not messing around. He can freaking shoot the ball from 3. And when you, like I've said before, when you pull Jakob out of the paint, it could be trouble because his biggest asset as a player is protecting the rim. So it'll be an interesting one. I want to see how DeJounte reacts to Patrick Beverly if he's playing, because he's been in and out of the rotation all year, in and out of the lineup all year with injuries. So y'all remember, I think DeJounte's rookie year when he got thrown into the starting role in the playoffs against Patrick Beverly at the Rockets, and he just got bullied, just punked by Beverly over and over again, which was probably one of the best learning experiences DeJounte's gone through as an NBA player. I mean, in the playoffs versus a guy like Bev. And, it's just always fun to see that matchup, just knowing that happened 4 or 5 years ago. That'll be something to look for. And then we need certain guys to keep it up. We need Lonnie to be good, obviously. I mean, everyone has to be crisp versus the Timberwolves on Monday because they're good. They're good. I mean, they're not the old Timber puppies. They're the Timberwolves now, and they can't be taken lightly at all. No one can be taken lightly with the Spurs this year. But that's a fun week of games. Let's check out the standings in the West. Spurs are still in 12th place with Portland right in front of them. I'll keep saying it. Portland will drop. They're going to drop. They're not playing any serious rotational contending pieces at all besides Josh Hart. But good for Eubanks. He's getting a ton of minutes there, and he's playing some decent basketball for what they're doing, which is not much. But it's still good for Eubanks to actually have a role close to where he's from and to see him enjoy that and be part of something. But this is about the standings. Spurs are going to surpass them. I'm pretty sure it's going to happen. Spurs play them 3 more times. Pelicans. Spurs play them this week, like I said. And who else did the Pelicans play this week? Phoenix, and then at Atlanta and at Charlotte. They don't have CJ McCollum. They don't have Ingram. Who knows? They could drop some of those. They'll probably lose versus Phoenix on Tuesday. And then the Spurs, that's a big game for the Spurs. I think the Spurs will come to play on that one. Lakers, pretty much all of their games down the stretch are going to be losable without AD. That roster is just not built to pick up the slack if one of their big guys is out. And by big guys, I mean LeBron and AD, because that's all they really have. They have a couple of decent role players like Monk, and Austin Reeves is emerging. And then Westbrook has just been a mess. But, Toronto, Minnesota, Washington even. They beat Washington last time they played them, I think. No, they did. 2 games ago. But they could lose that game, especially if Porzingis plays. At Cleveland, Philly, New Orleans, Dallas, Utah, New Orleans, Denver, Phoenix, Golden State, then OKC, a little break, and then Denver. How many of those games are they winning? Really? Without AD, how many of those games are they winning? The Spurs have a serious chance. What are we going to say? How many games are left here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Is 3 and 12 too harsh? They beat Washington, maybe. Maybe get New Orleans once. Maybe OKC, and then maybe like one upset. 4 and 11. Spurs can do better than that. Spurs would have to go, if they had 15 games left, which I'm not sure how many they had left, they have to go 8 and 7 though, because they're down by 3.5 to the Lakers. But there's opportunity, and there's different schools of thoughts, but I'm of the opinion that you get this team of young players into the playoffs, it's going to improve all of them more so than just going straight into the offseason, obviously. So, as a fan, I want to see the Spurs make the first round of the playoffs, because you get at least four more games of high stakes, high quality basketball. It can only help DJ, Yak, Keldon, Devin, Primo. Lonnie maybe, Trey, everybody. It's going to help everybody out to give them that experience. That's unbelievably high level basketball experience that most of those guys have never tasted in their lives. So I think it would be really cool and really beneficial with a team with so many young players to make it. So I'm really rooting for it. I don't know about you guys. Some of y'all are Team Tank. I get that too. But I think the Spurs have enough young talent right now to where you want to see what they can do. And they have enough draft capital to where you're not putting all your eggs in that one basket. You have options there to move up, to trade for other assets, to do a lot of things. With that all being said, that's how I come up to this conclusion that the Spurs need to make it to the playoffs. But anyway, this is your Spurs Weekly Update. I'll see you on the next one, and I'll probably react to 1 or 2 games a week that I feel compelled to do so for. I just kind of do it when I feel it, but this is the steady show that you're going to get every week. But if there's a big game and the Spurs win or the Spurs lose a heartbreaker like Sacramento the other week, I'm going to probably react to it. So look out for those. I'll see you next Monday. Go Spurs, go.